As soon as the Emperor had placed the golden laurels upon Horus Lupercal's head and proclaimed him Warmaster of the Great Crusade, the Emperor had sensed his son's discomfort over the proclamation. At first the Emperor had fought to let the matter lie, and to allow the new Warmaster to grow into his role. However, the paths before them were too important for there to be any doubts, so the Emperor had dispatched Malcador to speak with Horus. Malcador had returned later confirming that the Warmaster indeed had doubts, so the Emperor summoned Horus to speak with him personally. The Emperor stood on the balcony of the great dais and overlooked out over the celebration below. The Emperor watched as word-bearers spoke with imperial fists, blood angels mingled with Emperor's children, while the White Scar stood alone, away from the rest of the legions. Looking out more closely, the Emperor could see the Phoenician addressing a congregation of his sons and imperial army troops. Before the Emperor could go looking in the crowd for the remainder of his Primarchs, a chime at the door roused the Emperor's thoughts. Turning to face the door, the Emperor beckoned the new Warmaster to enter the chamber, dismissing Constantine Valdor, who was acting as the escort for the Warmaster. Valdor saluted and left the chamber, leaving the Emperor and the Warmaster alone. The Emperor beckoned Horus to join him upon the balcony. There, father and son stood in silence and watched out over the celebrations below. After a long moment's silence, the Emperor addressed his son. "You have doubts, Horus?" Horus was reluctant to speak, as if voicing his doubts to his father would be a sign of weakness. "No doubts, father, but today's events have left me with questions." "Then ask them of me, my son. I shall answer what I can." Horus hesitated again and then spoke. "I wonder if I was the only candidate for this honor, father." The Emperor smiled to himself. That was not the true source of Horus's doubts, but the Emperor decided to allow his son to get slowly to the heart of the matter between them. "No, you are not the only candidate, my son. There were a handful of your other brothers considered, but out of all of us who discussed the matter, we all agreed that you, and you alone, were the most worthy candidate for this role." Another lengthy silence passed between them, and the Emperor asked of his son, "Who would you have chosen, my son, if not for yourself?" The Emperor's comment took Horus aback, and Horus paused before he spoke again. "Sanguinius." The Emperor smiled. "The angel was a preferred candidate by some," admitted the Emperor. "However, we both know that Warmaster is not a title the angel would want, and I would not give the honor to one who would not wish it." Horus did not address his father and kept looking out over the celebrations below. "And the others?" "We both know the answer to that, Horus." Horus asked his second question, still not the true question, but closer to the matter. "Am I able to act as the master of the crusade in your stead?" "Of course you are, my son. I have walked and witnessed your paths and growth since you started out with me on this crusade. You are able to handle this matter, my son, and I have the utmost confidence in your capabilities to lead the great crusade." Horus smiled at his father's words, and finally addressed the true heart of the matter. "Why do you need to go, father? Why leave now when the crusade is so close to completion?" The Emperor smiled. Now the truth of the matter was revealed. "I go because it is necessary, my son. Time is limited, and even now, as we draw closer to our great victories, the enemies of mankind grow more desperate in their attempts to stop us." "What enemies, father? The Xenos are broken. Who is left that could deny the Great Crusade's victory now?" "I am not speaking of material threats, my son." "Do you mean the Imperial—" "Yes, my son. The threat of the warp grows greater the closer we are to success in the material realm. If we do not stop the threat of the warp, then everything we have built will be ruined." "So that is why you must leave, father?" "That is right, my son. I leave the Great Crusade and the War of the Materium in your hands and that of your brothers, as I know you will be able to succeed. While you fight the war of the material world, my son, I shall endeavour to conquer the war of the immaterium, so that the future of mankind be assured for all time. Is the warp that great a threat, father? You know it to be so, my son. You have only heard of the stories of old night, but I have seen it, lived through it. I have seen the horrors the warp can do if it is given a foothold in the material realm, and I shall not allow humanity to fall down that path again. So, father, what happens next? We do what we need to do, my son. You and your brothers must win the crusade for the galaxy, and unite humanity under our banner. While you and your brothers fight that war, my son, I shall wage war and claim victory for the war of the immaterium. I speak truly, my son, when I say the survival of our species itself depends on what we do here and now. Horus finally turned and looked at his father in the eye for the first time since the start of their meeting. I will not fail you, my Emperor. I know that you will not fail me, my Warmaster. For all our sakes, silently thought the Emperor.